All right, and welcome to Career Services presentation on the hard case for soft skills. I'm going to go ahead and get started at 6 p.m. We'll give everybody a little bit of time. I have some introductions to do here. First off, my name is Brenda Brinkerhoff. I'm one of the Career Services advisors here at the college. And in the room today with us is Landria Manchego from Career Services as well. There's going to be a lot to cover in today's presentation, so if you have any questions that I'm unable to answer, then you can privately message one of her or myself. I'm not going to see it to respond right away, so it's best if you have private messages to just go in between to those people. And I know we're using Zoom for the first time here, but it is pretty easy. If you want to click on their individual name at the top or at the bottom under participants, you could privately message them that way. If it doesn't pertain to what we're actually discussing at the time. If something's going on with my PowerPoint and it's not moving correctly, then go ahead and message me or just put it in the chat window. But I want your participation and I encourage it because I like everyone to just kind of contribute and put their conversation in the chat bar that pertains to the lesson that I'm actually discussing at that time. If you're having side conversations, it's really hard for me to be able to follow and have it relate sometimes. So if you have those questions, just connect with Landria. And also, there'll be time at the end of the presentation for questions. So if you want to hold them, that's fine too. Please, I advise you to stay all the way to the end, as I'll be going over many of the resources that Career Services provides, and I'll be citing all of these resources that we're using in today's presentation at the end of it so that you can review them on your own time where you get the full links. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and get started. All right, I like to explain to you each time why it is that Career Services does what we do. Some people are in here for the very first time, and it's good for us to go over this. So here's a screenshot of our credo, and then what we do is give you specialized career-driven advice here in Career Services. We educate you on how to build your own personal brand name, and we provide tools such as networking and communication skills. And ultimately, our goal is for you to obtain employment in your chosen field and receive the highest salary possible. So consider us your career coach. We provide employment opportunities for you to apply for, and Career Services is dedicated to your professional and personal development. I've had this question come up before when I've said that. Well, what is professional and personal development? There is a definition on businessdictionary.com that basically refers this to the acquisition of skills and knowledge for career advancement, which encompasses all types of learning opportunities that range from your college degree to formal and informal coursework that is learning that's situated through practice, through consultation, coaching, mentoring, and reflective supervision, which is why we offer soft skills through Career Services, because that's what we do. Soft skills also has been brought to my attention as needing to be defined. What the differences are between soft skills and hard skills was also found on businessdictionary.com. Unlike hard skills, which are about a person's skill set, as far as like their certain ability to perform a task or activity, that's your education. Soft skills are personal attributes often described by using terms associated with personality traits, the ability to be practical, and to just genuinely like other people. So it's often said that the hard skills will get you the interview, but you need soft skills to get and keep the job. All right, everybody hearing me okay? Just making sure my Zoom is working. No comments out there so far. Yes? Oh, great. Oh, perfect. Okay. So this is the 7th webinar in the Soft Skills series, which is number 7 in the series of 12 total presentations that will last anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour each, in hopes that they will aid in improving your career readiness. So that is our goal in doing these. In today's topics, as we had planned, I'm going to discuss conflict management, part 1. And it's because it's been long assumed that employee skills are just naturally occurring, but they're not. In fact, businesses are now only coming to the realization that their employees lack the soft skills needed. So we'll be touching on each of these subtopics listed here. Let's go ahead and let's start with acceptance of diversity and respect. All right. And so here we are. The definition of diversity is the variety of experiences and perspective which arise from differences in race, culture, religion, mental or physical abilities, heritage, age, gender, sexual orientation, gender identity, and many, many other characteristics. So why is it when many people think about diversity that they think first of ethnicity and race and then gender? So as you can see, diversity is much broader. Diversity are those human qualities that are different from our own and outside the groups to which we belong, yet present in other individuals and groups. It's important to understand how these dimensions affect performance, motivation, success, interactions with others, and ultimately just our well-being. So of course, diversity also encompasses a wide variety of other differences, which including work experiences, parental status even, perhaps a disability or handicap can make it difficult, maybe your educational background, maybe your geographical location, and many, many more factors. So managing diversity means more than just simply observing legal and policy requirements. It's a lot more to it. So I just wanted to give you that definition first. So sorry, I've got a little bit of a cold and I have to take a drink every now and again. So to understand how we can accept diversity, we must first determine why it's so important to us. And I'm going to take it based off of that analogy. And so I put some of these up here. I love Morgan Freeman's statement about attacking people with disabilities is the lowest display of power that he can think of. Absolutely. And as you can see with the eggs, the color of the shells are different, but we are all the same on the inside. And when we begin to respect and accept the differences we have with other people, it becomes easier for us to love and appreciate them. And I just love these hands over here and how they're working together. So I have 5 reasons our diversity is important to us. And then you'll understand why we need to be diverse and have that acceptance and respect. So for one, mutual respect. Let's go ahead and touch on that. Workplace diversity fosters mutual respect among employees. It's the natural symptom of being accepting of it. Whether employees work in groups or teams that comprise of coworkers with various work styles or colleagues who represent different cultures or generations, a synergic work environment becomes the norm. Although an idealistic atmosphere may be difficult to achieve, employees nevertheless recognize the many strengths and talents that diversity brings to the workplace, and they gain respect for their colleagues' performances. So it's kind of a natural symptom of being accepting. All right, and then conflict resolution. Conflicts inevitably occur in the work environment. That's why we're doing this entire presentation is on conflict management. However, employees who acknowledge others' differences often also find similarities, particularly when there are common goals in the workplace, such as the team's quality and their goals to produce. Respect for coworkers either reduces the likelihood of conflict or facilitates an easier road to conflict resolution. The ability to resolve workplace conflicts minimizes potential liability for employee complaints that would otherwise escalate to formal matters such as litigations. Workplace diversity preserves the quality of employees' relationships with their coworkers and their supervisors. So as you can see, acceptance is just really key. All right, and the third thing here is business reputation. Diversity in the workplace is important for employees because it manifests itself in building a great reputation for the company, leading to increased profitability and opportunity for workers. So advancement opportunities for you. Workplace diversity is important within the organization as well as outside. Business reputation flourishes when companies demonstrate their commitment to diversity through aggressive outreach and recruiting efforts. An organization known for its ethics, fair employment practices, and appreciates the diverse talent is better able to attract a wider pool of qualified applicants. Other advantages include loyalty from customers who choose to do business with the company whose business practices are socially responsible. And then fourth is job promotions. The importance of workplace diversity cannot be overstated when it comes to an organization's ability to reach markets in foreign countries. The appeal of global markets creates two kinds of opportunities for employees: opportunities for promotion and employee development. A global marketplace opens doors for employees with diverse language skills and multicultural understanding to build a global profit center. Employees' interest in learning multinational business strategies and who are available for possible overseas assignments may also find new and challenging career opportunities. And then lastly is to increase exposure. So a diverse workplace offers more than exposure to employees from different cultures and backgrounds, but employees learn from coworkers whose work styles vary and whose attitudes about work varies from their own. This is particularly true for employees within multi-generational work environments. Traditional generation workers learn new technology and process from workers who belong to the tech-savvy millennial generation. Likewise, the Generation X employees learn from exposure to the assertive, go-getter, work ethical typicals of many of the baby boomers. So we are really just advantaging each other, and that's really what I want to do is look at this in a positive light and the advantages of accepting the diversity within our departments. All right, so then the next subtopic is dealing with difficult people by listening and acknowledging. Because difficult people come in every variety and no workplace is without them. So how difficult a person is for you to deal with depends on your self-esteem, your self-confidence, and your professional courage. Dealing with difficult people is easier when the person is just generally obnoxious or when the behavior affects more than one person, because then you're not the only one complaining. So it is easier to deal with. But dealing with them is a much tougher thing when they're attacking you or undermining your professional contribution and nobody else can see that. So over the years, I've encountered my fair share of difficult people who don't turn their work in as they promise, people who don't show up for the meetings, people who stick to their views and refuse to collaborate, people who push back on work that they're responsible for, and more. I don't know what happened here. This window just kind of popped up. All right. So let's get into this, dealing with difficult people by listening and acknowledging. So I've actually got 9 tips I've found to work in dealing with such people. And I'll go over those with you now. I see here some things that I had popped up here. Weak people revenge, strong people forgive, wise people ignore. My people skills are just fine. It's my tolerance to idiots that needs work. Good people bring out the good in other people, and that is absolutely true. So the very first one is just be calm. Let me take a drink really quick. I don't want to stop coughing. Okay, so losing your temper and flaring out at the other person typically isn't the best way to get his or her to collaborate with you. Unless you know that anger will trigger the person into action, you are consciously using it as a strategy to get them to do something. It's better to assume that a calm persona is going to be more of a motivational factor. Someone who is calm is seen as being in control, centered, and more respectable. Would you prefer to work with someone who is predominantly calm or someone who is always on edge? Think about it. Who would you rather work with? Don't the people who tend to be the most quiet and reserved, don't you think that they're putting themselves in a much more respectable light? I would go to them. So, right, right. When the person you're dealing with sees that you're calm despite whatever he or she is doing, you're still getting their attention. You notice that with children. I noticed that with my children when they were younger, is not giving the attention to their tantrum, being the cool head in the room, and all of a sudden they start paying attention to you. So anyway, I love that. And the second one here is understand the person's intention. Oftentimes we we jump to conclusions, and I don't know about you ladies, but I have jumped to conclusions before. And I like to believe that no one is difficult for the sake of just being difficult. But even when it may seem that the person is just out to get you, there's always some underlying reason that is motivating them to act that way. Rarely is this motivation apparent. Try to identify the person's trigger. What's making them act in this matter? What is stopping them from cooperating with you, and how can you help to meet their needs and resolve the situation? So you have as well, Susan. Yeah, I don't know if anybody that's ever had, never, and anybody in here never have to deal with a difficult person because you have been living under a rock, if that's the case. But the next one goes right along with this one. It's get some perspective. Talk to others. Not bad, not in the gossiping sense, but in all likelihood, your colleague, managers, and friends, they must have experienced similar situations in some other way with this individual, and they'll be able to see things from a different angle or offer a different take on the situation. Seek them out, share your story, and listen to what they have to say. You might very well find some golden advice in the midst of the conversation. So don't stop now. We're just getting going, and there's way more useful workplace strategies ahead in this. So let's go to the next one. Let the person know where you're coming from. Another drink. So one thing that has worked for me is to let the person know my intentions behind what I'm doing. Sometimes they're being resistant because they think that you are just being difficult. Letting them in on the reason behind your action and the full background of what is happening will enable them to empathize with your situation. This lets them get on board much easier. So don't you come off as being the difficult person either. One way you can avoid that is build a rapport. With all the computers, emails, and messaging systems, work sometimes turns into a mechanical process. So reinstill the human touch by connecting with your colleagues on a personal level. Go out with them for lunches or dinners. Get to know them as people and not colleagues. Learn more about their hobbies, their family, their lives. Foster strong connections, and these will go a long way in your working relationship. I'm not seeing a lot of comments, guys. Wake up out there. I know you're here still with me, listening to my voice rattle because I've got a cold. The next one is to treat the person with respect. Okay, so no one likes to be treated as if we're stupid or if we're incapable or incompetent. Don't you hate that when someone makes you feel like that? But if you're going to treat the person with disrespect, it's not going to be surprising if she treats you the same way back. So consider how you're treating others. And then focus on what can be actioned upon. So sometimes you may be put into a hot soup by your difficult colleague, such as not receiving a piece of work they promised to give you, or being wrongly held responsible for something you didn't do. Whatever it is, acknowledge that the situation has already occurred. Rather than harp on what you cannot change, focus on the actionable steps that you can take and moving forward in the situation. Thank you, Susan. You're the only one responding. All right, go to the next one. It's ignore. If you have if you have already tried everything above and the person is still not being receptive, the best way might to be just ignoring the behavior. After all, you have already done all that you can within your means. Get on your daily tasks and interface with the person only where needed. Of course, this isn't feasible in cases where the person plays a critical role in your work, which leads us up to the last tip. Escalate to a higher authority for resolution. And unfortunately, that has to happen. But when all else fails, escalate it to your manager. This is absolutely considered to be the trump card and shouldn't be used unless you've completely exhausted your means. Sometimes the only way to get someone moving is through the top-down approach. Specifically in bureaucratic organizations, be careful not to exercise this option all the time, because you wouldn't want your manager to think that you're incapable of handling your own problems and come across as that you're the one that is being difficult. And I've had to do this several times in my previous jobs, and I found it to be the most effective in moving people who just refuse to cooperate with others. So hopefully that helps. Oh, thank you, Emily, for chiming in. All right, let's go ahead. The next slide is actually a video. Let's see if this works. Look, it's coming up so far, so good. I'm going to go ahead and turn my mic off.
Hi, you're watching Dr. Maria TV, and I'm Dr. Maria Church, your leadership host. This is the right place to be to create the organization, life, and business you love with your irresistible leadership. Our mental models are so powerful and deeply ingrained that we're not even aware of them. Our mental models are the ways in which we view the world, our own personal lenses and filters. These filters, lenses, or mental models created throughout our lifetime influence the way we understand events, including communication. Our mental models develop through our life experiences, location where we grew up, our religious background, our birth order, our number of siblings, and our education all contribute to our own unique way in which we view the world. So for example, if I were to say pop, some may view this as dad, a gun, or a soda, depending on what part of the country you're from. If you hear someone with an English accent, you may think that they're cultured and sophisticated.
Bloody hell!
Or a Southern accent, you may have a different opinion.
Yeah, I'm busier than a one-legged man in a butt-kicking contest.
These are deeply ingrained views, probably some prejudices that make up our mental models. And mental models, again, are very deeply ingrained, so ingrained that we're not even consciously aware of them. The danger of not being aware of our mental models is that our ability to leap to assumptions and make decisions based on conclusions based on these mental models can be very destructive or even harmful to our organizations. In fact, several years ago when I managed a private school, I had a teacher, Miss Sharon. She started off great, like so many of our employees, and then she became a problem employee. I had complaints from parents and other teachers about Miss Sharon. Eventually, I had to let her go, and I learned a lot of really tough lessons in that experience. Then years later, across the country and in a different industry, I was interviewing for a marketing assistant. So I had an interview scheduled with a woman named Sharon, and I'll tell you, I almost fell off my chair when she came in for the interview. She was the complete image of Miss Sharon. I mean, it could have been her twin. So my immediate, almost visceral response was to completely dismiss her from consideration, even before we began talking. Luckily, I was aware of my own mental model around Sharon. We completed the interview and I hired her. And she was an amazing assistant for me for several years. And she broke my barrier of my own limited mental model thinking. Had I not been aware of my own mental model around Miss Sharon, I would have missed out on a phenomenal employee. Once we do become aware of our mental models, we can make a conscious choice to change some of our lenses. So we could choose to take a step to the left, or we could choose to take a step to the right and view the perspective from a broader perspective. The beauty in all of this is that not only just recognize the mental models in ourselves, but to recognize the mental models of our team members and those with whom we communicate. So how do we recognize our own mental models? First, be aware. Tune into your body and notice those physical cues we get, such as increased heart rate, sweating, or a change in your breathing. Second, notice any emotional responses that you're having.
Danger, Will Robinson, danger.
Third, be still long enough to sit with the physical and emotional responses to see how you can connect the dots back to your own Miss Sharon experience. I'd love to hear from you. What are some of the mental models you're aware of that have held you back? What beliefs have you formed from your own experiences? Let's continue our discussion after the episode. Come on over to drmariachurch.com and leave your comment. Did you enjoy this video? If so, subscribe to this channel and share it with your friends, coworkers, and colleagues. If you would like even more resources to support you in your leadership development to create the organization, business, and life you love, then come on over to drmariachurch.com and sign up for my email updates. I share additional resources and insight in email.
All right, so that was a great video from Maria Church, and she has so many others on her website, so I have it right there plugged into the screen. And if you do, just go ahead and wait until the end of the presentation, and you'll see all the resources there to be able to benefit from the other things that Maria Church offers. But yeah, the healthy mental model, it's really our perception and attitude that needs to be changed. And many people just want to point the finger at something else or someone else for the responsibility. And we really need to take ownership. The conflicts that we have in our life are inevitable. Inevitable, absolutely. And so what you need to do is focus on your response and how you perceive them. So hopefully that's helped you, and I've got a little bit more to go over with you today. Let's see, we've got a comment here from Dee. You once had a manager who was very verbally abusive towards you. Oh, and she didn't understand you well enough and would first look confused trying to figure out what you wanted. Proper questions, better understanding. So through that, you were able to, she got to the point of throwing papers at your face and then stormed into the office. Shortly after all that, she had me dismissed after you called in sick. Oh, and oh, that's unfortunate. It's because you were sick that day. There was nothing you could do. You weren't able to be reliable to go into work. Yeah. Well, I totally understand that. And she was a senior VP. Well, I'm wondering if there was some sort of generational gap, or there was maybe the office politics gap. Maybe she was a little scared of the threat of losing her position. I know that sometimes is the case with the higher ups. Manager on a power trip. Even still, if you practice what we've been talking about and really just trying to understand like where they're coming from, invite them to do things, invite them out, and really just kill them with kindness. You've heard of that before, right? And what you give out, you give back. It's called karma. Not saying that you did anything wrong, because sometimes, like I had mentioned before, the best thing to do is just to avoid them. And that's all you can do, because you've used every means that you can in your power. So don't be hard on yourself for that either. It's unfortunate that that had to happen to you. Well, what I want to do is take us to the next subtopic, and is handling various opinions and validating others. Now, this is the very last one. If you got in here late, you might want to still watch the recording, because I had forgotten to lock the meeting earlier. But these are some of the quotes that I came up with. The iniquity and general acceptance of an opinion is not assurance of its truth. Very deep. If you fuel your journey on the opinions of others, you're going to run out of gas. I like that. It makes sense. I must respect the opinions of others even if I disagree with them. Respect. There's that word again. We talked about this before. Your opinions do not really blossom into fruition until we have expressed them to someone else. So it's not necessarily a bad thing to tell people what you think. I know I'd like to know what you guys think. Anyone have any experiences they would like to share concerning voicing your opinion at work? Any good stories, any bad stories? Because this could be taken either way. So the question that I pose, is it good or bad to voice your opinion in the workplace? And unfortunately with Zoom, I can't tell if you're typing like I could when we were in the Blackboard. So I can't tell if you're typing. Depends on how it is presented. Absolutely, Susan. Absolutely. Because giving an opinion is kind of a bold gesture when it comes to talking with your employer or some higher ups. It really depends on your hierarchy. It seems like if you're in a position of respect already, oftentimes your opinion, no matter how it's been presented, is going to be recognized better than, say, someone who doesn't come from a place of authority. If it's an opinion that the other person shares, it could be taken better. Opinion that the other person, and it really is based on how you say it. So we're going to talk about that. All right. All right, on to the next. So, 4 things to consider. I'm going to just get a drink. Okay. Number 1, leaders. So really quickly, many employees have opinions about their workplace, but they never voice them for fear of just reprisal. This tendency keeps valuable information hidden from those who make decisions. Voicing opinions in a professional manner can boost the profile of an employee and improve the morale of company. Leaders who are receptive to all opinions, whether they are ideas or cons. So with leaders, typically employees are comfortable voicing opinions to their colleagues and subordinates, but not to their bosses. If an employee's relationship with his boss consists of open, honest dialogue, well, carefully voicing of opinions can often increase respect and deepen that relationship. If the opinion could be perceived as negative, I'd share it privately and as constructively as possible. Leaders who want to establish an open dialogue should listen attentively and thank employees for their thoughts, even if they disagree. Respect is huge. That's why I put it in the title here. Okay, and the next one is submitting ideas. Ideas are one type of opinion that is critical to voice with peers or leaders because they shape the future of the organization. If the organization is a hierarchy organization, it may be best for employees to use predetermined mechanisms such as surveys or suggestion boxes. If the organization has created an environment where opinions are solicited and rewarded, then employees should connect directly with peers or leaders or speak up during brainstorming sessions to discuss new ideas. So some cultures introduce that into their meetings, are like a session for brainstorming. So then you feel a little bit more relaxed about telling people what you think. And then third is constructive feedback. So with constructive feedback, such as a performance feedback, documented critiques or feelings about a recent decision, they're difficult for some employees to voice, but these opinions are a vital part of improving quality. For example, a leader asks an employee to review a sales presentation, but the employee has a suggestion for a better approach. Wherever possible, offer opinions privately to reduce resistance to the feedback. Also, communicate the opinion as an opinion and not a fact to quell decisive reactions. And then lastly is staying silent. Sometimes it's prudent to not voice an opinion depending on the leader, the venue, and the other people present. For example, voicing an unpopular opinion in a large forum, such as a department meeting, can create strong negative reactions. In addition, leaders who prefer hierarchies or exhibit defensiveness may not respond well to opinions from line employees. Avoid expressing opinions that have already been expressed by others, and don't express a dissenting opinion when an executive has said that they've made the final decision, because again, there comes that respect. Those are all the subtopics that we had planned to talk about today in Conflict Management Part 1. This is a time for questions. We had gone over all those subtopics. If anybody has any questions, go ahead and ask them now. Let's see, right, and they're also hard to take as an employee. Right, that's true. That's true, Veronica. So here again, in the live recording, Landry has already taken attendance for Salt Lake online students of Stevens Henniger and Independence University to be given certificates. For those of you who are watching the recording, please email online.careerservices@stevenshenniger.edu. And you'll need to tell me which recording you listened to. I need the title and on what date you listened to it. Please also include something you've learned from today's presentation in your email. That is first and foremost the very most important thing that I'm looking for, because this is on the honor system, that you're actually listening to the entire presentation. So we want to know what it is that you were able to get out of it. Does anyone have any questions for me? Okay, I'll just go ahead to the next slide. Here's the references I was talking about. This is where I got all the information for today's presentation, and I encourage you to take notes. There's valuable insights that I wasn't able to share with you because there's just so much involved, that if you take these websites, you can go out there and learn a little bit more about them. And we have a professional development series. I don't know if people are aware of this, but there's 24 3 to 7 minute mini webinars that we have on Shark, or not on Shark, on YouTube, and you'll see the link is right there. Would I be able to make slideshows available for further referencing? The slideshow will be in the recording on Shark. So yes, it will be there. Same way, it still goes on Shark the same way, even though it's being recorded through Zoom. It doesn't matter. It's all going to be on Shark exactly the same way. Oh, it's not hard copied. No, but you can fast forward and rewind, and I know you can't copy and paste out of it. So no, they're not hard copied. Sorry. But at least we have it there for you to be able to view and pause so that you can get those websites. And then save the date. 2014 schedule. Conflict Management Part 2 is going to be August 12th, and you'll see the subtopics there. And then we'll have 4 more to the end of the year. Can't believe we're getting that close to the end of the year already. Right now, if you go out on Shark, you'll see that there's 6 of them already out there for 2014. These are all revamped from how we did them last year. You'll see the archive webinars are there from last year in 2013. There's 12 total, and 2012, there's 12 total there. So we have a lot of them. Now, 2013 is a remake of 2012. Same information, just by different presenters. So it's really up to you. If you want to watch both seasons, you can. It's not different information, though. And I highly encourage you to watch this, at least this season. All right, well, thank you for coming. It looks like I got through this a little bit quicker than I thought. I was worried with my cold and how that was going to affect everything, so I did make it a little bit short just this one time. But I want to thank you for viewing each and every soft skills webinar. Tune in for our next one, which is the August 12th, and it's going to be on conflict management part 2. All right, thank you guys for attending today, and thank you, Landry, for doing attendance for me. I was a little bit concerned about how Zoom was going to work too, so I didn't want to overdo it with the presentation, but I did hit every subtopic, so we're good. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording now, and we'll see you guys all next time.